It's Tuesday, December 23rd, 2025. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. A potentially dangerous system setting up, moving right into California. I want to show you that. Huge snows, right? That's good news. There's good and bad with this. Good news for the ski resorts. Matt Makins was talking about that in the previous video. Up to 90 inches. 90 inches of some snow. With that, significant flooding will also be a potential. I want to show you that system. And with the up and around pattern as we work our way into Christmas, pulling out of, Quebec, Ontario, Great Lakes, sweeping back toward Pennsylvania just after Christmas, another system will be diving down. That'll be something we'll be watching developing around Manitoba and then sweeping across. This could bring the potential of ice. Watching that closely, in particular for parts of Michigan, parts of Pennsylvania. As we swing back toward Quebec, there could be some icing along with some of the snow. We will cover that post-Christmas system in this video. Let's start here. Now, with everything equal, let's take out the cold. This is kind of the rainfall, but we know based on latitude, elevation, all of that, of course, a lot of this precipitation is going to be snow. With that said, you see these significant amounts where you're seeing this white to black shading. We're going to have some areas, if you're not getting snow in parts of California, in Nevada, if you're at a lower elevation, we're talking about 4 to 6 inches of rain, possibly more in some spots. Keeping an eye on Southern California, even back toward the Baja, watching that in northern Mexico. So I mentioned that flood potential, the dangerous runoff, and then we'll see in the backside of winter with this significant snow piling up and some of these warm outbreaks we've seen as well. We'll have to watch out for the subsequent runoff down the road, but a flood potential is possible. This continues to pump in. The pattern has been locked in. Coming out of the Pacific, tons of moisture building in. We've been seeing that parts of Washington, Oregon, and then swinging off throughout the Rocky Mountains, additional rain and snow depending on location. I'll show you the wide view on that in just a minute. Now, we have one little system that's been moving by, a nuisance maker, right? Especially a lot of folks out and about just ahead of Christmas watching this. Southern Canada pulling back toward New England, parts of the mid-Atlantic with some rain, some snow. We've been watching this, but what's going to happen is there's going to be another system behind it and then another one behind that. That third area, that is the one after Christmas that could bring snow and the potential of ice. We'll show you that in the video, but let's start here, right? I want to show you this spin developing. We're watching British Columbia as well. Look over toward Vancouver. You see some of the snow, higher terrain, the snow, but look over toward LA South as we work our way back towards San Diego, Tijuana, where you have some of the reds popping up. Those are downpours, and we're going to see this spin right here. So it is a dangerous system in the sense we are going to see significant flooding in spots, additional rain, of course, over toward the Sierra Nevada. That's what Matt Makins was talking about in the previous video with the incredible high snow totals. The good news, good for the ski resorts, but of course getting really locked in some spots, and this does spill over into the Rocky Mountains, so you can pick a spot on the map where you are as we go out in time here. This is by the time we get into Saturday, and of note, Matt and I together will be keeping an eye on this. We try to include everyone, right? We're not leaving anyone out. We're going to keep an eye on Alaska, keeping an eye on this area here. That could bring some additional snow, especially as we work our way into Saturday, even some higher winds. So heads up in Alaska with that. Now, again, finishing here with the snow totals, and you could see this significant snowpack. These deeper purples, it is not this shading of 20 to 22 inches. It's 36 plus, and that's why we're talking about totals of 50, 60 inches of snow or even higher as we go really long term as we get down the road. But point being, with this plume, we're going to continue with those very significant snow totals. And then I mentioned the rain. If you're at a lower elevation or a little bit lower in latitude, we're talking about that significant rain and that flood potential, but incredibly high snow amounts to go with some of the rain amounts. And then we see that spillover effect as we get back toward Utah. We get over toward Park City. We get back toward Salt Lake City, swinging back toward Idaho. Here's what we're looking at toward Vancouver. Again, some spots rain, keeping an eye on Seattle, interior and higher elevations. We're talking about that significant snow, and there's the spillover all the way into parts of Montana. So watching British Columbia and then swinging by, and these pieces of energy here do translate into what's next, what's coming down the road, and it will be this other system that will be working in. Now, this is by this evening. Here's that system as you swing back toward the Cape and the Islands, mainly rain, a little bit of snow on the backside. This generally misses the Maritimes, right? right? Kind of just to the south of the Avalon Peninsula as we get toward the Atlantic region of Canada, but it does try to pivot back toward the Avalon Peninsula. By the time we get into Thursday, little piece of energy here for Nova Scotia. Could see some snow showers on Thursday, again, being Christmas, back toward the Cape. But here comes that new system, as I mentioned, swinging down through the Great Lakes, Green Bay, Detroit. We'll keep an eye on you. And then as we get toward Friday, there's the snow, but there could be some significant icing. We'll even keep an eye on the DC area, back toward Fairfax, north, back toward Altoona, Johnstown, monitoring this area carefully. Anywhere from Scranton as we get deeper into Friday, and then back through New Jersey, could be a significant snow. Not a huge amount as widespread as we may see with a nor'easter riding up the coast, but a significant snow that could be impactful, especially for travel, right after Christmas, watching that. And then again, kind of pivoting back toward Newfoundland with some of that snow and some of the rain, but that pattern persists. It won't be until next month this pattern breaks. We'll talk about that in just a second, but then we'll watch out for some additional systems. Quebec, Ontario, back toward the Great Lakes, keeping an eye on Wisconsin, back toward parts of Michigan. Here's some of that snow. This takes us out through early Saturday, and you see right in through here this sliver, this blue shading in particular, northeastern Pennsylvania, parts of New York, where we could get, especially over toward the Poconos, we may get some spots that top out around 6, 7, 8 inches of some snow. So we're going to keep an eye on this. But as I mentioned with it, just to the south of wherever this heavy snow band sets up, be it northeast PA or back toward parts of New York, northern New Jersey, just south of it, the icing. And we'll even keep an eye on the panhandle of Maryland, watching the panhandle of West Virginia, and keep an eye on the DC area, Delmarva, for the potential of some sort of mix out of this as this really shoots in. And then with that, this again is including what we have going on today, keeping an eye on New England. This system after Christmas, though, really dives down here, and then we'll kind of pivot back, missing much of New England. But as I mentioned, some snow showers will be possible on Christmas Day as you get over toward Cape Cod and the island. So here's the big picture to kind of set the stage. Here's that big plume. This is by tomorrow as we work our way into Christmas Eve. There's some of the snow, higher terrain snow. There's that area building back just off the coast of the Avalon Peninsula, then starts to move in. And you see here's Winnipeg. So you see these systems diving down. This here is Christmas. Here's that spin that we are tracking, Pacific Northwest South, all the way through parts of the Baja. Very impactful. Then as we get into Boxing Day, you see some of that rain that slides by, some of the ice, and some of the snow. So there'll be a sleet mix, but some true icing potential. Again, panhandle of West Virginia in particular, with that area as that slides by. And you see how it generally misses New England as we get into the 26th, so the day after Christmas, with this area that will be scooting by, and eventually that area will be moving off. So this just kind of gives you a feel as we work our way in through Friday into very early Saturday, some of the snow that we could get, some of the snow totals. Again, I zoomed down into these areas earlier. I zoomed down into this, but this gives you a feel of what we're going to see. So again, as Matt was mentioning in previous videos, white Christmas, not super widespread, but some of us are getting a shot of some snow either right before, right on, or even right after Christmas. But again, the heat, that has really been the story in some areas. So that's why I mentioned that while some of that snow could be very impactful for travel, it could be very good for some of the industry, of course, related to winter. So with that, very serious West Coast storm. I am concerned about the flooding. Right, the flooding is going to be an issue with this, those massive snow amounts. And then that post-Christmas snow, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, we'll be fine-tuning that location with some significant ice possible. We'll have to kind of wait and see on that, but panhandle of West Virginia, panhandle of Maryland, watching that. And right now it's kind of that up and around pattern, but it does look like even as soon as we get into early January, bit of a break where we could see a few systems kind of starting to develop toward the southeast U.S., southern U.S., kind of drawing in some of that moisture from the Gulf. Sometimes those are the ones that could kind of ride up the coast and become bigger nor'easters. So that is something Matt and I will be watching as we work our way deeper into winter. So thank you for taking the time to subscribe, sharing this channel with your friends and family. Do hope you have a good rest of your day.